My name is Muhammad 2G. I'm coming to you live from the Donnie Houston set. Don't you go nowhere. I know that sounded horrible. Peace.
Yeah, man, it's going down. This Donnie Houston podcast. I am Donnie Houston. Check it out, man. We got special guests, man. You know what I mean? Hey, man, been putting it down around the city, around the state, all around, man. Just doing his thing, man. From artist to production, all kind of things and everything in between, man. I'm really excited to have him here today. You know what I'm saying? And I'm glad to know that that he ain't went nowhere. You know what I'm saying? The beats are still forever, man. Muhammad 2G, what's going down?
Man, nothing much. Just happy to be here, my brother.
For sure, for sure. How you doing, man?
Be here. I'm good. I'm still here, and as you said, I ain't went nowhere. But at the same time, I've been so many places I can't even count. You see all this gray hair? That's where that comes.
That's that wisdom, man. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I done lived 1,000 lives in this one so far.
That's what's up.
I ain't kidding.
For sure. Well, man, what you doing these days, man? You still doing music, or you kind of stepping away from it?
Yeah, I've been doing music all this time pretty much, but I got work that just ain't been released. I'm gonna just put it like that. So I stay working, but and over the years, of course, I've gotten off into many different things, and I might get into a couple of them, but so many things, bro, that it's like the music thing is always the heart and soul of what it is that I ever done. But I've gotten off into construction pretty deep, and I even insurance adjusting. So those are kind of some of the areas that I work in. But the music is always the heart and soul of what it is that make me up is simple. And I love to say that it's just music that I was doing, but honestly, you know, in this city, and that's a whole nother conversation, in this city, there's not an infrastructure, you know, in my opinion.
No, you're right. I've always said this. There is no music business here. It's just a bunch of people doing music.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And that I you know, so with me personally, the years that I was really getting down with the production and doing it, I'm the kind of guy that, you know, I'm pretty administrative based, okay? So I'm gonna break out some paperwork. I wasn't able to make a living that way. I just put it like that. In this city, you know, ain't nobody used to doing no business and putting it on paper yet, you know, so it's just like, damn, you know, so I never really got to exercise that in other places I have, but I'm saying here, we never got to that point. It just got to a point to where it just be like, you know, then the industry changed. We went from CDs and all that down to MP3s, and you know what I mean, everything began to change. It was right around 2007, somewhere up in there, and I had a whole album done, you know, and you know, like Don't You Go Nowhere wasn't hot no more, but I still was doing music, still putting my stuff together, and it just took such a turn that, you know, you begin to doubt yourself and feel like, damn, am I jamming, you know, is it me, you know? But really, if there's not a support base for what it is that you do, I don't care where it's at. If you're in your house and everybody in there is pulling from your energy, you're not gonna get far. It's just not gonna. It's not a conducive environment for you to grow and expand in those areas. So, yeah. So I've gotten off into some other things, but
was that the turning point of you trying to like do straight business and everybody kind of just trying to work for hires and we ain't really trying to do whatever?
It was a you know, I'm gonna say that's not the exact turning point, but that was a important factor. Okay, so but the main turning point was family. You know, I had 2 growing daughters, had an older son, you know, and now, you know, I'm having to make man decisions. You know what I mean? And it's like, okay, this music thing, it ain't paying. It ain't, you know what I mean? Had to go get a job. Started doing satellite systems, you know, so I just started messing with them houses, and then eventually got to a point to where, I can say that I'm a contractor, to this day. So you know.
But by that time, you had already been in the game almost 20 years at that point.
Absolutely. So that was the tripped out part, is that I got so much work done before 26, 27 years old. I had what, 2 careers in the game already, you know, when other people was just getting started, you know. So I was blessed in that regard. And then my back seat or my hiatus put me in a position where I could watch and see, okay, what's going to happen? Am I who I think I am? You know what I mean? I get to evaluate. And then during that evaluation, you go through your turns and, you know, all of that type of thing, to where you really have to get, okay, so then another thing happened was the music began to change. The music began to turn into trap music, and now you got 808s everywhere. Stuff that we was trying to do back in the day, the technology wouldn't allow us to do. So now the technology is here, and the cats is pulling off what we was trying to do way back in the day. So then that was like, damn, now I'm trying to make them kind of beats, and it ain't working because they got new DAWs. You know what I mean? So
you got to learn a new system, man. You got to,
yeah. So yeah.
Was this what you were trying to like tune 808s and all that back in the day? Or
yeah, back in the day, we would have to make our own sounds. Mm-hmm. Technology now, you just find the right VST and bang, boom, 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 boom. It's already there for you. You know, so just think of the mental shift, you know, from being around a time where you had to do everything. When I say make our own sounds, I'm serious. I'm meaning you make samples, a piece of a
find
part
your
off
own
a
drums
record.
and yeah.
Yeah, mm-hmm. Actual, and I used to do it with sounds, like a string, for instance. I would take it, put it in the ASR, and then it would go forward, and then you make it go backwards, and you create that loop where if you do it fast enough, then it turns into your string. You get what I mean? So making sounds, or what they call today, what do they call it? It's not sound engineering. It's another word they use, but they make sounds now. So everything that's in those VSTs, and there's somebody that's sitting just manufacture that all day long. That's what they do. And so I could have went in that direction, but once again, family, the need to pay bills, and to actually be a man and not just be, you know, making music, you know, like a totally different life. You know what I mean? So that's kind of what took place, and I'm still in transition back into my old self. And during that time, you get to a point to where now you done been in relationships, you got been through all kinds of war, and you done prove yourself, you trying to reprove yourself, you got a whole bunch of shit going on. And so now you have to re-engineer everything. And so what I've learned is, out of all of the things that I've done, I've learned how not only to make music in the studio, but how to make it in life. Everything is a beat. Everything is a song. Everything is production. You know what I mean? So everything I touch and I approach, it has a system to it. You know what I mean? I always look at it, okay, well, how you do this? You know what I mean? Because when I'm making a beat, it's the same process. You thinking, okay, what am I dealing with? But that's how I think. Now, some other people approach things differently, but I'm just saying the way I think, you know, it's like, what am I really up against? And then put a process together and then start knocking that shit down. It's just like construction, same thing. You know what I mean? You start out with the bones, you know, everything, the framework, you know, well, before that, you got to get your slab. That's right. Get your slab, then from there, you can begin to build on it. But everything is a process. So I've gotten to that point to where I may be more of a engineer than I am a producer. But I can wear all those hats if put in the right situation. You know.
Man, talk about what side of town you came up on.
Okay, that's a good question. All right, so I'm from Beaumont, Texas, and I was there until I was 11 years old. So I think 86 is when we came out to Houston. So then I was in
great rap year. 86 is pretty good rap year.
Absolutely, absolutely. So you go from Beaumont. Beaumont is pretty slow compared to Houston, and we trying to implement what Houston doing, right? So I'm coming from an era where we getting breakdance music. You know, I'm breakdancing and everything. That's what we doing. But we began to visit Houston. So I was coming back and forth. But what I was doing was when I would come here, I would put on tapes the radio. I would tape the radio.
Kids jams and all that?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So all of that would be on the tape, and I just press record on that and bring all that back to Beaumont. Next, we dancing, we doing all that to the music that we in Houston. Next thing you know, we moving to Houston. So in '86 we got here, '87, you know, so I'm 11 years old, 12 years old around this time. And so we come here in spring. We get here, Spring, Texas. 2 years there. Then I moved to Dory Middle School. Where is that? Over there on the north side. Kirkendall, over there in that area. So we over there. Then we finally moved. Yeah, I started going to Westfield High School. My first 9th grade year, the first semester. My birthday about to come up. Boom, we had to move again. We moved out to Katy. So we in Bear Creek area. So now I'm in my first 9th grade of high school, and I made it all the way through high school on Highway 6 area, which is where I say I came up pretty much. And then the music really came up because now
Is it high school when you start kind of dabbling in it? Or what?
absolutely. So 9th grade, I mean, I was dabbling from 13 to 15, okay? So 13 to 15, I'm just writing little songs and stuff like that, writing little raps and stuff like that. And eventually got a hold of some little equipment and was able to start putting ideas together. And then I learned how to ping pong on my own. So I just learned that, oh, okay, I got a dual cassette deck. And then boom, I play it over here and I can record it on here. Oh, okay. And figured out how to ping pong. Once I did that, then now I'm in high school. I used to cut hair. And one of my good friends that, well, I say we good friends now. But at that time, I had just met him. He was in 10th grade. I was in 9th grade. I'm cutting his hair every week. And after I finish cutting his hair, I let him hear what I'm working on, my music. And so I'm going back and forth to Beaumont. And I hate to make this a whole long, crazy rendition. But at the end of the day, this area, I end up going to Beaumont for 3 months, which is the summer holiday. And then I come back from the summer, and that same friend that I was cutting his hair, he come knocking on my door one day, and he was like, yeah, I'm in a rap group. So I'm like, damn, okay. You know, he wasn't rapping before, you know. So in my mind, I don't know what he had done. I learned he had messed with it before. But and we'll get into that too with the Coppertone Conspiracy. But before we was Coppertone Conspiracy, we was CAP. So this was the name of the group. And so they came and got me. They all Capricorns. And I'm a Sagittarius. So I'm just, you know, that was in itself was just like, okay, damn. So y'all, the Cap crew, and y'all calling y'all Capricorns. And I'm like, well, I'm a Sagittarius. In my mind, I'm thinking this, you know. But I was a fit. And then and from there, it was like, well, I want to join the group, but let me hear what y'all got. You know what I mean? Before I just say yeah. And man, they started rapping for me. I was like, damn, this boy's cold. You know what I mean? And I was in a rap group with a white guy right prior to that. And we was just talking gangsta MCs. We was just trying stuff out, you know, at that point. And so CAP. We started taking money from our parents, or getting money from our parents, and we'll go do studio time with that. That was in 87, 86, 87, somewhere up in there. And then by the time 88 came around, we was recording, you know what I mean? And we went to Rap-A-Lot Studios. They had a little studio in this little spot. I forgot where it was at, but Shatora and Bernie, we spent studios. Big Richard was where we got into the Coppertone. So Coppertone came about a year and a half later.
How did y'all become Coppertone?
Okay, so now that's another story. We had a record out with CAP, and CAP was it was called City Under Siege. I'll never forget it because the Ghetto Boys came out with a song called City Under Siege. It was after us too. Now, you know, I know Brad, I know Willie, Brad more so. And this ain't no direct shot, but yeah, we came up with that first, bro. But look, we didn't even know each other then, you know. So we did a song called City Under Siege. That was like the top
The show had already been going. Yeah,
the show was yeah. And they came to our school and everything. They did a 10-minute documentary on us. So basically, they came to the school. We was basically a rap group, and we were like going to other schools and inspiring other students and stuff like that. Yeah. So we got to do that show. They did a special on us, the 10-minute special, put the record out. Then Marcus, one of the members of CAP as well as Coppertone, which I'd like us to have a discussion about Coppertone after, you know, we off camera or whatnot. But then my brothers and we, you know, we doing some things. So anyway, and then as we get to Red Rum after that, if we can, okay. But anyway, it's we did the show. Coppertone Conspiracy came from. Yeah, there we go. Lord have mercy. I'm sorry.
No, I'm gonna keep you on point. Don't worry about it.
Good. Because I'm getting old, and I'm trying to keep this brain on track. Anyway, so Coppertone, one of the members, Marcus, his cousin was on the south side, and my boy brother. What's up, brother? If you watching, brother was connected to a guy named Poopy, and Poopy was the dude on the southwest side, or one of the dudes on the south side. I said southwest, south side. So this is all connected to if you H-Town, the group H-Town. Okay, so Poopy had a band. They was called Quest, and Quest was Bishop Stick Burrell.
Yeah, because Bishop was in the
right.
Yeah.
Right. So all of them, they was a band. And Poopy was the drummer, and he was, you know, financier pretty much. And but he was building a record company. So brother was connected to him. Then bam, they all of a sudden talking. I'm in high school. I don't know nothing about these folks. Then all of a sudden, Marcus and them talking about, oh yeah, we gonna sign a deal, you know. So I'm just like, okay. You know, well, with who? You know, what's going on? You know, so at this time we selling mixtapes at the school. We doing, we got our own records, selling our own records at the school, everything. So they get the deal, bring me the paperwork because I'm still 17. Yeah, I'm 17 years old. I ain't even old enough to sign no contract, but I did it, and we did that, and that's when we started working in Big Richard's studio over here in this area. And he was on Anderson Road at the big old warehouse.
In the field over there.
Yep. Mm-hmm. So that's where Coppertone began. And Marcus, I believe, came up with the name for Coppertone. And we'll clarify some of those little points or whatnot at the right time, you know. But that's how that began. That's how it began.
So y'all go on this Coppertone. You were saying, you mentioned Red Rum. Talk about in between. Okay. Like all that.
All right. So once Coppertone Conspiracy disbanded, it was 4 members. Okay. It was myself, KC, JP, and Marcus. All right. So me and Marcus were more on the production side, and JP and KC were more on. JP was more so like our minister information, okay, and then KC was on the lyrical side. So we all did the lyrics or whatnot. Mainly me, Marcus, and KC did the vocal part or the lyrics stuff, and JP did more so talking on the records and pumping us up, and you know, and always being a strong force in the group and keeping us together and on point in you know, in our minds, as well as information, knowledge, wisdom, understanding. You know, he was giving us this stuff.
Oh, yeah, I was on that back then.
Yeah, we was way back then. Yeah. So now we'll get to I guess to that point, but we joined the Nation of Islam in '94. Okay, so prior to that, JP was already telling us about stuff here and there. Yeah, here and there. You know, I hear some of the stuff and I just be like, oh, okay, you know, Malcolm X, okay. I heard of Malcolm X, you know, that type of thing. And it didn't hit me until '94 when we revisited. And now the music has been done. And now we ready to learn as men and grow into manhood. But also, just to add to the Coppertone thing and keeping, you know, why we wore the hoods over our head, or our symbol was basically a mask, and we didn't show our faces because we wanted you to hear the work, you know. And like I said, my brothers, they have much more to add to this stuff, but these are the little tidbits that made Coppertone Conspiracy different. So our music was already strong. We was already coming with the conscious stuff. If you listen to the records, you'll hear, oh yeah, they was on some whole other stuff, you know, out of this city. And ultimately, that's what it was. JP was feeding us that type of knowledge and stuff and keeping us on. We had the street, we had the music, we had the lyrics, like we had everything bottled into one. And so we ended up disbanding in '90, right after the album came out. It was a lot of internal conflicts, you know, whether it was you know, how Poopy saw things and what he wanted to do, and then what we wanted to do creative wise, and then me personally, I'm thinking, you know what, man, this got to be jamming. If it ain't jamming, then, you know, then me and whoever it is got issues, you know. So you know, with all of those energies, you know, it got to a point to where me and Marcus still was kind of working together, you know, and talk. We was best friends. And I ended up meeting two guys from the South Side, from South Park. And that's Big Mayhem and Menace at that time, which is Mafia Genie at a point. He changed his name, which is now Aries the Dangerous Don. Then you got Big Raph. So that began. We was hanging with Street Military and cats like that as we was coming up. I already knew Icy Hot from our Coppertone days. So, you know what I mean? So there's a whole lot going on.
Are y'all putting the music out through Southwest at this time, or who getting y'all out there? Selecto?
Yeah, I think it was Southwest. We had Evolution Records with Coppertone, okay? So by the time we got to Red Rum, we didn't have no distribution. That's a whole nother thing going on. Now we connecting with Death Row and, you know, with other folks in other states. You know, our manager at that time had come into the picture. He was from Cincinnati, and he had connections with Death Row. So that's how I worked with Jewel and RBX, and we ended up going.
Were they coming out here? Y'all went out there.
They came out here. So we went out there after. This is Red Rum. After our manager ended up going to prison. When he went to prison, then we ended up going out there to LA. And because we had some talks that we was going to be signing with one of the larger labels out there, which was Warner Brothers at that time. And excuse me, it got to a point to where when he went to prison or jail or however it was at that time, I had one of his business cards. So I started calling the guy myself. Hey, you know, you heard of us and blah, blah, blah. And I'm just mouthpiecing it, you know what I mean? And then we got to a point to where we hopped in a rental car, rolled out there, and I sold my first beat to Tech 9. And I sold my second beat to RBX. Oh, so ever. And I'm talking about, you hear how long I've been in the game prior? I've been giving the beats away before that, you know what I mean, here in Texas.
At that point, you talking about like 8-9 years into the game.
Right, right. Pretty deep, yeah.
Damn. Okay, so how much were those beats going for at that time?
15. Well, let me see. I sold my first beat to Tech for $2,000. So like, I'm 18 years old at this point. I think I'm 18 now. Yeah, I was 18, going on 19. So yeah. $2,000 which was nothing at that, for bigger cats, but for me, that was like, man, like, okay. And I sold one RBX for 500. So that was way more than I was getting out here in Texas. I was just like, cats where the infrastructure is, they were more
they respect
ready.
The business.
Yeah, they understood the business. Yeah. And so, that just led to years later me not being green. You know what I mean? That enabled me to know how to operate when it came to money and paperwork and dealing with people on those levels. Tech, he had a deal over there at Perspective Records, which is Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis's label at that time. So here I am from Texas, and just from one move, I'm out here fooling with folk like, on that level. You know what I mean? So that was like a defining part of my career, and we still cool to this day, man. That's my boy, and it's a lot more to the story, but for the sake of time, was your question answered? Didn't I answer?
Yeah, no, for sure.
Okay.
So that's at the Red Rum phase.
Right.
When do you start crossing up? I know you said you've been going to the Rap A Lot studios. But when do you start crossing up business wise and like making that transition?
So yeah, the Rap A Lot.
Because this is not too long after this, right?
Yeah, Rap A Lot is okay. So everything I'm telling you is up to 92. 93 was when I sold the tracks, and now Red Rum, we never put anything out. We just got hot ass records, and cats know it. Cats already know we all got a rep from either Menace and Mayhem with their lyrics, and me with my music and beats, Marcus with us and Coppertone. What we've done, all of those things was all a force, and so everybody knew it. But I always call us the best kept secret, because I don't know, when you can just do things, a lot of times people don't want everybody to know what you can do, because then they like, damn, it make it uncomfortable. So anyway, this is 93. So now, 93, I had to leave LA, because that's where we was at, for my first son being born. It was in 93. So I left there, didn't want to leave. We was trying to get a deal. That's a whole thing in itself. That's a whole nother story in itself. Anyway, I come back, and my first son is born, and now I'm back in Texas. So from 93 to 96, I'm basically changed my life. My son is 3 months old. I joined the Nation of Islam. We all joined the Nation of Islam. Okay, and so 94 was a very pivotal time for me in knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, primarily because I'm a preacher's son, but I didn't grow up in the household with my dad, so it was like, it was always this thing, telling me what I know I needed to do or whatnot, but I was just doing what I did. And so joining the Nation answered a lot of questions that I had as a Christian, quote unquote. You know what I mean? Now I'm getting clarification, to some of the questions that I had. And I'm like, wow, okay, so that make a lot of sense, So now by 96, I get put out of the mosque, okay?
Why did you get put out the mosque? I mean, you just breezed by there like it was a small bit.
Yeah, it wasn't no small thing. But yeah, it was for fornication, okay?
You was knocking something down in the mosque or whatever?
No, she wasn't in the mosque. So maybe that could be worse, but I think it's better, because when you in the community doing that kind of mess, it taints the community.
So how do they know if it's not like something that's
they
involved?
didn't know. I told them. So I confessed. Yeah, I confessed, and man, this so
wait. So you can get put out of the mosque for having sex?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's basically, we'd have to get into the doctrine of the Nation of Islam, and knowing that it follows a lot of biblical laws, So now you can't have no girlfriend. You're a FOI. You one of the brothers. You ain't supposed to have no girlfriend. You ain't supposed to be knocking nothing down. None of that. No, No.
I knew it was. I knew they was strict. They strict.
Yes,
I didn't know it was going down like that.
And at that time, you know, that was like trauma and shock for a guy like me. You know, I'm running through women. You know what I mean? And so, but that also gave a lot of respect to the fold, you know, in my opinion, because I'd never been a part of an organization that cared about that, or cared about my spiritual well-being enough to reprimand me if I did something like that. Why would you reprimand me for something like that? Well, first of all, it's a spiritual thing when a man and a woman come together, okay? And there's a lot of confusion that get involved when it's done too early or done at the wrong time. So it's a respect base of energy. It's a respect thing, a universal respect thing, and that is a part of the doctrine. So when I say that, I'm just saying that to say, nobody just said, hey, you know, found me and, hey, Brother Jerry, you know, so and so and so and so. That happens. It does happen, but it didn't happen with me. It was more so because I wanted to spiritually grow and advance at such high levels. I didn't understand that, hell, everybody around me was getting it on, you know. You know, so I basically went to the structure and said, hey, you know, I'm doing this.
I am not pure.
Yeah, I'm not pure. Yeah, I have sinned, you know, and took myself up in there, and yeah, they was like, okay, bro, you got to go. You know, so I did a year out, and that year that I
so
did
this is
out,
it was a suspension or some type of thing?
Yeah, it's basically you just X from the community, so you're not able to come to the mosque, you're not able to be a part of the functions, that type of thing for that period of time that you're put out. And
but you seeing people in the streets like, listen, you know I'm not supposed to be speaking to you right now.
No, I ain't never really run across that. I mean, Houston is huge too. That's another thing, is that if you don't go to the South Side, you know, you probably don't even run across the brothers now, you know. So it's like,
go on Griggs at
that time we was on Cullen. Yeah, we was on Cullen at that time, and I can't remember the exact address, but I was fit to blurt it out. But now it's on OST. So yeah, at this time, so I get put out, and now I had two choices. This is in my mind. I had two choices. Either I was going to get put out and come back stronger, or I was going to get put out and keep doing what I was doing and go to that direction. Correct. And the fighter in myself just was saying, you know what, if I get put out, which I need to be reprimanded, I need to be put, you know, I need to be humbled in my mind, and I'm going to come back stronger. So I ain't sleep with no more women. I didn't do nothing else out of turn. I did everything I could to build myself back up so that when I came back to the community, I would be an asset. I wouldn't be a liability. And once again, that's my personal view of how I needed to come back. And by God's grace, during the time that I was out, Rap-A-Lot, any of the brothers that was around during that time, they could tell you I'd be up in there with a whole suit on, up in there, suit and bow tie, whatever, you know what I mean? When they would see me at the studio, I'd be up in there making beats with my whole thing on, you know, especially at the point when I came back. So it was in between 96 and 97. 97 when I came back, and I still was going to Rap-A-Lot up until the cocktail bombing thing. So a week prior to that, when that took place, I had stopped going. I don't know why. I can't remember. I just put it that way. I can't remember why, but it got to a point to where, yeah, this was 97. I was on the corner pushing one day, and Big Market, one of the guys that used to be at the studio all the time, they rolled up on me, sold him a paper, and he was like, man, you know, Big Mike just blew up the studio down there, knock hard, you know. So I'm just like, what? He say, man, if you would have been in the front of that area, whatnot, all that got blew up. I was like, oh man, you know. So that was a trip for me right then. But during that time when I was out of the mosque, that was a good thing for me, and that happened with Bido. Bido would let me go into his room and just make beats. Because prior to that, I was messing with him, the Black Monks, the whole nine. So
Because you did work, you worked on the Black Monks and this stuff.
I did the title track to the second album. So if you hear, it's called No Mercy. So that's the track. Now I ain't gonna lie, and I don't know who was responsible for this, if it was Mike or not, Mike Dean, Lovin'. But man, when they played the track for me, Pee Wee the one played it for me. That was my boy too, man. I miss Pee Wee.
I talked to Pee Wee like about a week ago.
Did you?
Yeah.
Man, that is my dude.
He gonna see you on here and probably hit me up.
Yeah. Hit him up, Pee Wee. Come on, man. What we doing, man? So, Pee Wee let me hear the beat. So they took my track, or bought it from me actually. Bido, he would get tracks from me, and that's how me and him was cool. Cause I would have a whole track, you know what I mean? He had them beats though, boy. He had me on that 3000 real tough. Like when I'm listening to Bido beats, I'm just like, ooh, man. If I had my beat sounding like, you know, like I had my music going, me and him could ever come together, which we did try, and it just never sounded good to me personally. You know, we did a few beats together and it just didn't, you know. So, you know, that's another thing I learned about when you working with another producer, when some good shit gonna happen or when it might go another direction, and to respect that. Big Swift, my big brother.
Swift, that's my boy.
Yeah. When we worked together, the first time was with Mr. 3-2. And it was beautiful. It came out beautiful. So it was one of the few producers I could say that I worked with that some great things happened and ended up on a project. You know what I'm saying? So now I'm lost with where I was at.
Nah, we just talking about Rap A Lot.
Okay, right. So Rap A Lot that time.
So at this time at Rap A Lot, you just kind of just freelance producing over there, kind of just
pretty much
getting in where you fit in type of thing.
Yeah, and it was more so, like I said, Bido introduced me to his room, and I just ended up working in his room all the time. And so I ended up messing with engineering over there too. So that was when Mike and them would come. Like I be producing beats. Mike would come in the room and he taught me how to play that clav. You know, he taught me how to do that, and he messed with some of my a couple of my tracks, and Phase 2. And so I got to know a lot of people around there from that, but I never was, you know, signed per se to Rap A Lot. But a lot of respect for him and Jay, and you know, just what they built, you know, in the city, and the sound. I mean, like, man, Mike used to come get me, man, and take me to the hippie house, you know, and blew my mind. It was a few times. He taught me how to put chords together, the whole nine. And it's some beautiful things that happen over time in this city with all of the talented people, but that infrastructure never got set up, you know, at the end of the day, you know. So I don't know. At this point, I see some things that I don't think people are seeing, and I'm working on some real serious stuff. But you know, it'll reveal itself in time, and you know, maybe we'll get to discuss it, you know, at some point.
Talk about, because I mean, you know, at this point we talking about you done been in the group. Now you over here just kind of producing, doing your own thing. What was the decision to say, man, I'm finna put out a song, man. I'm finna record me one. I got to do it.
Okay, so here we go again. Now, it's 1990s, it's 97. I get a job in construction, and I'm working for Kimball Hill Homes, and yeah, I'm working for Kimball Hill Homes, and I just got the job. So my boy at the time, Mafia Genie, he was going by, he called me on the phone. We been in a group with the Red Rum. We boys. He in them streets real tough. And he like, man, you the only one can put together an album for me and blah, blah, blah. I'm finna do my thing and blah, blah, blah. And man, he talked to me a good 2 hours, man. I'm on the job site, sitting here listening to his ass.
All his hopes and dreams.
Me,
yeah.
Exactly. Talk me into leaving my job and going out to LA to put his album together. They gonna pay you $1,000. You know, they might have been paying me $500 every other week. You know what I mean, at that time. And so I was gonna get my $1,000, you know, but it was like, that's my boy, you know, all of that stuff. So he basically talked me into it. I jumped on the plane, went out there, and now we are working with a guy named Bone and Dion. And I ran across Dion when my son graduated in LA. But anyway, we out there working. We get finished working on, we started working at Kaniki. It's another company out in LA. They over in South Central. I think they was in, where they was at? They might have been South Central. So now this one I'm getting to meet other producers that's from LA. Now, my boy Jelly Roll out there, he worked on Snoop stuff and all that. But him, Battle Cat. I met Battle Cat. All these cats, I met all them from this move. So we go out there. We stand with a friend of both of ours that we met during the 93 trip. So he's 97 now, you know. My son, 2-3 years old, something like that. And anyway, we out there. Right. So I'm working with I'm having too much brain fog, y'all. I should have brought me some water. That's what I should have did before we even pulled up.
I got some water in the back.
Give me some water, man. God damn. I'm sitting here sweating, trying to think through this. Okay. So, appreciate you. Yeah. So
y'all in LA. He called y'all to do the album. They paying you about $500 every other week.
Right. So I jump in. Yeah, we go in the studio. Now we down the hall from Twism, which is Shaquille O'Neal's label. We right down the hall. Shaq, if you listening to my voice, you know we got together years later. But at this time, we right down the hall from his record label. We in the same building and everything. So anyway, we get finished with his project, with some of the songs. Thank you very much. With some of the songs on his project, and once we got, we might have been a few songs deep. We did some at Kaniki, we did some there, and then now he done left and went back to Texas, and I'm still in LA, and I'm like, damn, you know, okay, so I'm still staying with our friend, and now he calling me because he done got with some other guys from LA and Arkansas in Texas. So now he done called me to come down there to finish the album. Same album. So we do that. Or I do that. I get on the plane, come down there. They gonna pay me even a little more to come and work with him. And that's one thing he would do, man. That brother, he'll look out for me and be like, man, come on, I'm gonna get you some money, you know, just come on. And man, yeah. Anyway, we get there, we finish the project up, and I gets into it with the record label, you know, and it gets to a point to where it's like a standstill, like, okay, well, to get us through the project, they wanted me to manage Mafia. So basically, he could have been real problematic at that time because he a Gemini, you know what I'm talking about? He full of fire, right? Especially at this time. So he getting into it with them, and they like, look, the only way we gonna finish this project is you gonna have to manage him. So I had to do that to finish the project. Now here I am producing, I'm trying to manage my wild friend, you know, and we got finished with it, and they put the record out. So now we doing things. We finally get to a point where let me take a sip real quick. We're going to see how good this water is. Okay. So, we finished this project, and now the label, they ready to put it out, and now everything turning into a pumpkin. Because now they finna go back where they come from. They done got into it. They don't want to fool with him no more. They just ready to put the album out or whatever's gonna happen at this point. So that transitional period, I ain't got nothing to do. I ain't got no project to work on, nothing, you know. So a friend of mine that I met through my roommate in 96 while I was out of the mosque, one of the brothers, he was his friend, and basically he was like, at that time when I was out of the mosque, I met him, and he was just like, hey man, I've been running through a lot of studios, spending a whole lot of time in these studios, and I got a bunch of artists. He say, what should I be doing? You know, how did he put it? He put it in a way where I'm just like, well, I had to ask him, well, do you have a studio? You know, because if you're spending a whole bunch of money in the studio, you probably need one, you know, in my mind. So he was like, no, I don't have a studio. So I was like, well, you probably need to get you a studio. And then he was like, real quick, he was like, you gonna run it if I set it up? So I was like, yeah, you know, I really didn't mean the shit. I ain't mean it, you know, I ain't mean it. So what but I know my word too. I know that if I give my word, then I gotta come through. You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, I was trying to find all kinds of other shit to do, right? He even caught me in LA. I'm in LA trying to make beats and do some other shit, and he knew the person at the studio I was at. So damn, she put us on the phone. It was like, shit. So I had to come back to Houston, and that's when, so DAL at that time had about 10 artists. They had a studio, and he had another engineer that was working in there, Marcus Jones. What's up, Marcus, if you watching? He was in there, man, working by himself, bruh. And it was like, so I really didn't want to get involved, honestly. I was just like, okay, well, I'll come and manage the studio. That's what I'll do. So I didn't want to produce. I didn't want to get into none of these other areas. So I came, and he was working on Endo's project, if you ever heard of Endo. And Endo had been in all these studios, shit everywhere. Okay, shit is everywhere. Okay, and most of the other artists as well. So you got tapes and all this stuff need to be organized and really, you know, mixed. Everything mixed, mastered, and then put out. So basically, he was trying to get a hold on where his money was going. He had a hole in the ship. So in my mind, I'm just like, all right, well, if you pay me, I'll go ahead and mix the project. What I say that for? Because now I got to put on the hard hat and go ahead and do that. Which I've learned is probably one of my gifts. My gifts is collectivizing things, organizing things, putting steps together, and then executing and getting shit done. So I can visualize the steps, what need to be done, and then get stuff done. That's just one of my gifts. But anyway, we get the album complete. Put out the Endo project, and then he was like, all right. So by this time now, Marcus, he gone. Because they wasn't getting along. And here I am, I come in with new energy, and I'm like, okay, let's get the shit done. I'm not trying to take over. I never am. I'm never that kind of person. I ain't into taking over, but if it's in my spirit, it's gonna get done. That's just what it is. So just get the fuck out of the way. I'm the same type of way. Yeah. You want me to do the shit? Yeah. Shit. So I'm never trying to get in the way or make anything difficult. I'm always, but don't let me loose. Cause once I'm loose, then just get the fuck out of the way and watch this shit get done. So anyway, we get in there. We finish that. Marcus gone. I come in there and I'm looking at the studio. I'm by myself. I don't know none of this goddamn equipment. I'm like, damn, but you know what? I can learn it. And so I said, I'm gonna take 6 weeks and I'm gonna learn everything in here. It was about $60,000 worth of equipment at that time. And so now here I am thinking about producing or thinking about engineering or thinking about something more than what I came in for, right? And so it got to that point to where now, all right, so now the other artists on the label need to get in the studio and they need to record some records, right? So he wanted me to do a compilation. So, all right. So now I'm calling everybody, trying to get them in the studio. That shit was a gnashing of teeth for 2 years. So it took me 2 whole years to get 2 records apiece from everybody. So we got 14 records done to complete that whole project. It's called the DAL Compilation 2001. Now, I had been there since 98. So 98, 99, 2000, 2001. So that was 4 years going into this. And by the 3rd year, I'm beginning to record. So I did, the first song I recorded was a song called Jerk, which is me just saying, you know what? I stopped rapping because after I left Red Rum, which I did leave, and Marcus said he didn't know I left. But in my mind, I had left. And really was to go get money. To go get some money so we can do it how we want to do it. Not signing with a bunch of people, not doing a whole bunch of other shit. We could do it our way. And so I think that has never died. I don't think that's ever died with any of us to this day. And we all still here by God's grace. So I say that we finish. Yeah, the compilation.
You had to record a jerk. Now you doing your
right. So I'm recording now. So I do the Jerk song, and I'm like, damn, okay, you still got a little bit. You know what I mean? Like, okay. And I pretty much vowed to stop rapping. You know, like if I wasn't gonna do it with my group, I wasn't gonna do it. But I got records now. So then one night I'm half asleep making a beat for one of the artists at that time, okay? And we got married, and we had a whole lot of stuff happen over the years, and that's a long story. So y'all gotta excuse my pause, trying to say it right. But anyway, yeah. So I get started on this particular record, and it happened to be Don't You Go Nowhere. So the beat was what you hearing to this day, but it didn't have no lyrics to it. It's a whole nother story to how the whole record came to play. But at this time, I've recorded Don't You Go Nowhere. So I laid it out, and I really didn't like it at first. And then I started thinking about the record, and I'm just like, damn, well, if these white boys can sing, get up in here, you know, I'm thinking about the group Kiss. Mm-hmm. I'm like, damn, all they doing is putting a whole bunch of effects and stuff on there. You know, so I had to reflect on this after a few days, you know, go back in the studio and then lay down my idea that I got in my head, but didn't sound correct. So when I came and approached it the next time, I had to stack them vocals up and then started putting them effects on there, and there it was. Bam, got the beat, got the hook, and now I done wrote a verse. I'm like, damn, this a fucking hit, right? And so now I got those 2 songs. That's all I got. But I got all that shit hidden. I ain't finna come out with no album. I ain't got no reason to do it. You know what I mean? So it's just over here. So I'm finishing up the records for everybody else. Still fighting through that shit. It was like, and I hate to say it, but I had to reflect on this. It was almost like, and I'm not a female, but it was like rape. It was like rape to do some of those sessions, because it was just like, I'm saying it was like something you don't want to do, but you ain't had no choice to do, and it was just not good sessions. It was like nothing fruitful. It was just like a waste of time. It was like all of the wrong shit for a producer, I'm saying, okay? So we got through those sessions though, but it was just not without trauma. That whole album was trauma for me, a lot of it. Good records, a lot of them. The records were so good that by the time we got to the end of the record, the album, Dre was like, you know what, hey, which was the CEO of DAL, was like, hey, y'all ready to go? You ready to get on the road? You know, and go push this album. So I'm just like, damn, how am I gonna push an album I ain't got no records on? You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna be looking like Dr. Dre or something like that. Like, you know, I just couldn't. And I come from the artist background. I come from being a part of my records. You get what I mean? So this is not a cool thing for me. Is what's going on? Okay, it's just okay. So anyway, it gets to the point to where now I'm like, I'm thinking about Don't You Go Nowhere over here. It's over there. And I'm like, damn, the only way I'm going to get on the road and go push this is I got to have a song on this album. So I let him hear Don't You Go Nowhere. He liked it. I was like, damn. Shit, I'm going to have to use it for this. Because I'm just trying to stack me some songs, really, at that point. I'm not trying to, you know, go against my word of saying I'm chilling, you know, but I'm just going to make me some songs. So anyway, it ends up being on the record. I made it number 15 on the album. We was already finished with it. It was pressed up and everything. So he was kind of upset that he had to go spend some extra money to get it put on the record. But when people listened to that whole record, they found Don't You Go Nowhere. So that's how good it was. The other songs was decent enough where they was like, damn, they got the number 15. And
hold on 1 second. Sykes, what Sykes said? Huh? He went outside to move the car?
Sound like, yep.
Okay, all right, cool.
Heard the door.
My bad.
Yep.
The phone going off and shit.
Okay. Yep, it's all good, bro. Yeah, so we got to the end of the project. Stuck Don't You Go Nowhere on there. And then now I'm on the road. And I'm pretty much by myself. I did bring everybody with me. And man, it was a damn nightmare. I be having nightmares to this day behind that guy.
So Don't You Go Nowhere came out on the compilation.
Yeah.
But was it the single? How did you go to the radio? And how did you, you know what I mean?
Right. So
I'm listening to you tell the story, and I'm just trying to figure out how do we get to that point.
All right. Well, it's a lot of versions to that story. Dre gonna have a version to it. I got a version to it. Swisher, who was around, got a version to it. Everybody got a version. But my particular version was that when we gave the song to Walter D, for instance, he ain't like the record. Okay? Mean Green, one showing love. Mean Green played the record. And he was on a different station at that time. So we was getting love, but it wasn't rotation love. Okay? So it'll get played here and there or whatever just to kind of see, but it really wasn't moving. Okay? So it wasn't no activity. But so what I was doing was getting on that road. I was in Austin, Tyler, Marshall, any of those East Texas, I was hitting it hard. Texas, Louisiana, and it's still to this day key cities: Baton Rouge, Lafayette. I had my boy the Juice Man out there that I met, and man, he got a whole nother story for this record. But I was physically going to these places and promoting this record and performing everywhere that I could perform, and it was relentless. I was relentless. I was at every club. I was getting on every open mic. Not open mic, but when the radio station pull up, I'm timing them when they getting there. Okay, they're gonna be there at 9:30, between 10. Okay, they're gonna go in the club at 12. I was on it. You know what I'm saying? I was on top of all of that, and I did that probably for a year, and it got to a point to where I think I was in Tyler. My boy Luscious Ice. I'm at the radio station with him. We called 97.9 The Box here in Houston. And Luscious, I'll never forget, he asked whoever answered the phone, he was like, so y'all playing that Muhammad 2G down there? And they was just like, who? Right? So he was like, he the hottest thing going on out here in Tyler, whatever, So I don't know who took the call, but it was during the hours in between 9 and 5. And I actually had two girls. My girl Kendall, what's up, Kendall, if you watching? Her and her cousin, I had them calling into the station. At this time, in between 9 and 5, I told them don't call no time outside of them times. Only 9 and 5. And they would change their voices up. They did all of that, right? I'm out in other cities pushing the record, building relationships, all of those things. And it got to a point to where I think Walter was getting those calls because I remember him saying, man, it was the phone calls that made me really want to play the record. And he played the record. I was gone for about a week. I came back and they was playing Don't You Go Nowhere in rotation. Now, once again, might be 3 other versions to that. Maybe some extra stuff that happened to help too. But all I can say is I benefited from it. You know what I'm saying? But that's the work I did. You know what I mean? Got out there. And once again, and the sad part is, why you got to get embarrassed to play my record? You know what I'm saying? If my version is a real version, why does another city have to call you and embarrass you and make you feel like, you know what, one of your artists from your city is hotter in another city for you to get on the bandwagon is what I'm trying to say. And that I can only attest to how we work psychologically, how people work psychologically, how the cameras, how we see things, you know what I mean? And that's all I can attribute it to, because other than that, if I got good music, then why you can't just play it? You know what I'm saying? But I learned this from how I see. Hell, at a certain point, it was just like, look, pay me X amount of dollars, and then we gonna play it on this, and this, or whatever. They just came right out with it. So the hell, I would have respected that at that time, you know, versus, you know, giving me the runaround, or I give you the record, and then, you know, you really don't know, you on pins and needles, wondering, hoping, you know, all of that kind of stuff. You at least coming straight out and saying, all right, this is what it is, and then you gonna shit or get off the pot, you know. But so I come up in all those eras, and I guess overall I'm telling you is I was here when there was no structure to this whole thing, to the structure that we probably have in place today. But still, once again, there's not an infrastructure of any capacity that can support this creative base we got. You know how many creative people are sitting here that hell probably can tell 100 of my stories.
They got burnt out because it didn't go the way. Yeah.
So I'm grateful to be here. I'm grateful to be able to give my account, you know, to what I saw take place, because at the end of the day, man, it's like I seen some cats, they go get on that job, they ain't never doing no more music, you know, and the best they got to offer is what took place way back in the game. And I believe this is just the beginning for me personally. You know?
So where you at today? What's next for you?
All right. So I think what's next right now is getting more into the infrastructure, which is, you know, the publishing aspects of things, administrative aspects of things, because I don't know if we missed this part, but at the end of the day, I ain't gonna say I feel, but I got robbed, you know, behind administration, or the lack thereof, or matter of fact, intentional misadministration. How about that? You know, which is something that I don't know too many people have encountered. But once you know how it went down, then it's just like, damn, so you did that wrong on purpose. And now I'm sitting here, I had to go get all these jobs and do all this other shit for that. You know what I'm saying? But really, if you're not paying attention to your business and the crossing of the T's and the dotting of the I's, that's what can happen. And, you know, so I think I'm stronger because of it. But those are the areas that I like to pay attention to. So publishing administration, getting into film. I want to get into more of the audio aspects, like film scoring. You know, I just did a project with my boy Marcus, which we were just discussing. He's doing films now. He's doing the shorter films and whatnot, but he doing this thing. A-Tone Productions. Y'all look him up. And I just did a sound score for that project, and I'm trying to get into many more. My brother right here, Cole Black, he putting this thing together. I'm doing my shameless plugs, y'all, if y'all don't know. But he's putting this things together with Verbal Pick Radio, and ultimately, I'm just trying to put the music side to it. I'm also working on a mixtape with my boy for Hip Hop for Justice out in he's out in San Francisco right now. I work with the Hip Hop Detox out in Chicago. Like, so behind the scenes, that music bed, these are the areas where I really want to get involved, but not missing the administrative side to things. Why? Because music bring in money, it bring in income, and this passive income. You do the work one time, and the money keep coming. Yeah. Exactly. So you want to get a handle on that. Once you get a handle on that, then you can go ham. But see, here I am with all these years with full of music, plenty of music, right? That's not all administrated. So I know that I represent many other people that may have been doing the music, but they can't make no money off of it if it's not administrated. So that has to be paid attention to. That got to be chopped down, put into a checklist, that dealt with one by one, put together, and then that's when you can really deal. You know, otherwise we out here playing around, we out here masturbating. You know what I'm saying? And you know they ain't going nowhere.
For sure. Well, man, I appreciate you coming through, man.
Yes, sir. Well, I appreciate you inviting me and allowing me to come and share what I shared. And I know it's much more to come with our relationship. I'm appreciative of what you've done. I got to say that to the culture, you are what we need. We need so many more of you that, you know, it just, you making everybody look bad, man.
Man, I mean, I appreciate it. I ain't trying to make nobody look bad. You know
and that's the whole point. You working. And that's all I was saying earlier is that don't.
Oh, well, if you make it look bad out the work, say, man, I ain't making no apologies for that. You know what I'm saying? You got to put that work in, man.
Right, and that's the point. Yeah, and until everybody do, then that's when they going to start looking better. Other than that, we're going to look like the sleeping giant that I think we are. I think we are a sleeping giant. We got a whole bunch of shit to offer, but we ain't taking the bull by the horns. It is what it is. You know what I mean? We out here with this bullshit, but we ain't putting no music out there. We not really serious. I'm going to just put it that way. And whoever bluff I just called, and I just called it then. Shit. So you proved me wrong, is what I could say.
And there it is. Muhammad 2G. You want to get your social media out, man?
You know what, y'all, I don't really like.
I know you ain't big on the socials,
but you got. I ain't big on it, but I'm gonna tell you where I'm at. Okay, my company is the M2Gism Company, and when it's M2G, it's spelled M, 2 I's. Okay, so that's Roman numerals for anybody that ain't really up on it. G ism, IZM Company, and that's on IG. You can go to Facebook as well and look it up. It's the same thing. And I think that's it for now. We got a website, the m2gismcompany.com. And that's where everything is at the moment. And it's plenty more to come. So all I can tell you is we'll start there. And then we'll build from there.
That's what it is. Well, man, I appreciate you coming through, man.
Appreciate you, man.
Yeah.
Appreciate you.
Hey, man, it's Muhammad 2G. Donnie Houston, Donnie
Don't
Houston
Podcast. You go nowhere.
Hey, he ain't went nowhere, man. He ain't went nowhere. You see him, man. It's going down. It's Donnie Houston Podcast, Muhammad 2G. Hey, man, we up out of here.
Peace.
Oh, fuck.
What?
Nah, we gonna keep it rolling. Because we gonna keep it just like this. I don't even want to cut none of this shit out. You know what I'm saying? Because when he was doing the shout outs, I meant to shout out my people at Full Court Houston. You know what I'm saying? They really got me laced up and shit. So
right.
I was gonna stop you, but you got so deep into it, I was like, I'm gonna let him get his shit off. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But yeah, shout out Full Court Houston. You know what I'm saying?
Full Court Houston.
And on that note, it's Donnie Houston Podcast, Muhammad 2G. Hey man, we up out of here.
We out of here. Peace.
Donnie Houston. Oh, yeah.